Sidelined again, Prince Harry has joined really a whole list of people who will not be serving as counselors of state ever. Hello and a very warm welcome to Kate Middleton and the Queen. Well, friends, first of all, I do have to admit that the list isn't very long. So according to the Times, Andrew, Harry, and Beatrice will not serve as counselors of state. They have been sidelined from acting as substitutes for the king, while Anne and Edward were added to those who can serve. Now, this is information that we already had, but right now, considering that the king is going to be having surgery next week, this issue has become extremely important to say the least. So just in case you didn't already know, a counselor of state is essentially somebody who can sub for the British monarch if they're indisposed for whatever reason. Maybe they're ill, or maybe they're just out of the country. Usually, the counselors of state are the consort of the monarch as well as the next 4 adults in line to the throne over the age of 21, apart from an heir apparent who is legally allowed to act from the age of 18. So under normal circumstances, that would mean that Harry and Andrew would be on this list. As things stand right now, the people who are listed as eligible to serve as counselors of state are the Queen, Prince William, Prince Harry, Prince Andrew, Princess Beatrice, and the 2 brand new additions, Princess Anne and Prince Edward. But the clever king also made a new rule, a special rule, meaning that Anne and Edward are going to be counselors of state for the rest of their lives, unlike Harry, Andrew, and Beatrice. Now, they're going to be gradually replaced when the Wales children come of age, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. There was also a statement included during the second reading of the bill in the Lords on November 21st of 2022. Lord True, Lord Privy Seal, and Leader of the Lords said that the royal household had confirmed that in practice, quote, only working members of the royal family will be called on to act as counselors of state. Well, Harry and Andrew are no longer working members of the royal family, so that means their chances of being called on to be counselors of state are absolutely zero, which understandably is being met with a big sigh of relief from people all over Britain and the Commonwealth. But anyway, some good news is that next week when the king undergoes surgery, it sounds like there's not going to be any need for anybody to step in for him anyway. Dr. Craig Prescott, who is a constitutional law lecturer at Royal Holloway, University of London, said the point of adding this statement that only working royals would called on to act as counselors of state was a way of dealing with the situation in the simplest way possible. It might have been viewed as malice against Harry otherwise, so in many respects, it was the most elegant way to do it. Prescott went on to say, if the king is undergoing a general anesthetic, then it's always good to have a plan B. It's no great effort to sign letters patent, which would be required to appoint counselors, but the king would need to do this as a precaution. There may, for example, be the need for an urgent Privy Council meeting to discuss royal assent for a bill, without which legislation could be delayed. Once, for example, the late Queen even held a Privy Council meeting at Heathrow Airport. On the other occasions, counselors of state have been called back to the UK from abroad to ensure there are enough to act jointly on behalf of the sovereign. Princess Margaret was once asked to return to London because there wasn't a sufficient number of counselors of state in the UK to act if required. Of course, no word yet on how Harry and Andrew are handling this news, but I would expect that Harry feels slighted as always, and Andrew is probably dealing with it fine. I doubt he really cares. It does seem like Andrew understands that he messed up, he brought shame to his family, and so he's not going to try to get a lot of attention for himself in the media. Seems to me like he's perfectly happy laying low as long as he still gets to stay in Royal Lodge. Harry, on the other hand, has proven to us that he is unable to accept consequences with grace and dignity. Instead, he always has to play the victim. He has to accuse somebody else for things that he did wrong. He refuses to take responsibility for anything that he has done in his entire life. But I think for the rest of the world, it is certainly good news that Harry and Andrew will not be tapped to serve as counselors of state anytime soon, and quite possibly ever again in their entire lives. All right, my friends, and now for some discussion time. Today, I'm going to be talking about the responses that you left to the video. Charles urged to take tougher stance against rogue Sussex. In this video, we were talking about the criticism that has come from royal expert Tom Bower, that King Charles has got to be more aggressive with Harry and Meghan, that he has to be more proactive. So my opinion is that, I don't know, I think King Charles is doing everything that he can right now. Could he be a little tougher in some areas? Sure. But I think overall, he needs our understanding right now. So let's see what you all had to say. First up, a comment from loyal audience member Kate London. Kate says, I think what Tom Bower meant by aggressive is that the royal family and their advisors should really be more proactive in anticipating the Sussex moves and heading them off at the pass, so the palace isn't reacting to bad news, but really helping to guide it and control it. A good example would be the Prince and Princess titles for the Sussex kids. While the Queen was alive, while nobody was watching, a law should have been added that you must reside in the UK in order to get an HRH title. The Queen was 96 and in poor health. The Harkles complained about no titles for their children. It didn't take Nostradamus to anticipate the Harkles would demand titles for their children as soon as the Queen passed away. So the palace should have anticipated this problem and solved it before it became an issue. The trick is, it has to be done before it's needed and by law, so it doesn't look like spite. This is an excellent comment, Kate, and I think you are making a very good point here, and I do see your perspective very clearly. And yeah, I think if that's what Tom Bower meant by being more aggressive, being more proactive, and anticipating their moves before they do it, the only potential problem I see with this is trying to predict what Harry and Meghan are going to do next. Now, I know we talk all the time about how predictable they are, but in terms of actually being able to take action before they do something, it sounds like it could be a little difficult. But again, they have some of the smartest people in the world working with them, so I'm sure the palace could figure it out. I also love this example that you gave about how the palace could have handled the titles for the invisible children. I sure wish they had thought to employ that strategy. Maybe now, if they had, those invisibles wouldn't hold Prince and Princess titles. It's ridiculous that they do. The next comment I would like to share comes to us from a user called Margaret Rogers. Margaret says, just my opinion, but the king should hold an emergency meeting of the Privy Council and remove Prince Harry from the list. There must be someone in the top 20 of the royal family who can fill this gap with brains, dignity, and honor. But the last thing anyone, especially the king, needs is Meghan Markle sticking her nose in and thinks she should be running our country. He needs to remove that option immediately. Once he has recovered, then he needs to deal with all the other issues as far as Harry's part in the royal family. Top of the list would be seeing actual birth certificates of the children, DNA tests, and names of physicians and staff that were actually in the delivery rooms. Otherwise, these children should not be listed as members of the royal family. Excellent comment, Margaret, so thank you for sharing, and I do hope that you're happy to hear this report that Harry will not be serving as a counselor of state after all. I think it's great news for everybody. And I agree with you, we need to find out the truth about these invisible children. If they really are biologically Harry and Meghan's kids, then they should be able to prove that. Considering that the children are listed in the line of succession, I think it's entirely reasonable to request DNA evidence. Folks, I do realize I've already done one video talking about Harry's attendance at the tacky Living Legends of Aviation award ceremony that took place in Beverly Hills just the other night. But as we are receiving more information about what exactly went on that night, I hope you can forgive me, friends. I just had to make another one because this is something unprecedented. This is a whole new low, even for someone like Prince Harry. This was a ceremony that was so low rent, so incredibly gaudy, that even Meghan Markle, who is hungry for publicity always, couldn't be bothered to show up. She made up some excuse that one of the invisible children was ill. Now, this is an excuse that was about as predictable as it is unbelievable. I think Meghan knew exactly how cringy this whole event was going to be, and she didn't want to receive any of the negative publicity that she knew was going to accompany it. So Harry had to face the music all on his own, but he seemed more than happy to be there. And now we've got this report in the Mail Online with the headline, "This vainglorious gala felt like the popping of Harry's bubble." But it was hard not to feel just a smidgen of sympathy for him. Caroline Graham recalls her night at the tacky Living Legends of Aviation Awards in Los Angeles. It sounds like the guest list for this little gala was so pitiful that Harry was the most exciting attendee. Caroline Graham writes, "Given such a distinctly D-list gathering, no wonder the audience was abuzz as they waited for their guest of honor to arrive, although his faded royal stardust would not be enough to save the deeply unimpressive night." Yes, I would agree that any event where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are billed as the most exciting attendees is a pathetic event indeed. And unfortunately for the event's organizers, Meghan Markle backed out at what sounds like the last minute. According to Caroline Graham, quote, organizers had promised that the Duke would attend with his wife Meghan in what had been billed as the couple's first joint Hollywood red carpet appearance. But a PR lackey suddenly announced that Harry, 39, would be solo, and that he had just snuck in through a back entrance. And then later on, it was reported that Meghan decided to stay home because one of the two invisibles had fallen ill. Caroline Graham writes, quote, perhaps a wise move by the image-savvy former actress, considering so many of us were wondering, what on earth is Harry doing here? What on earth was Harry doing there indeed? And this is the reason that most of us predicted that Harry wouldn't even show up. I thought surely he's not going to debase himself to that degree. Surely he still has a little bit of self-respect, but apparently not. Apparently, when he married Meghan Markle and moved to California, he lost not only his brain, not only his manhood, but also his self-respect. Lucky for him, though, it does appear that Harry's overblown sense of self-importance, as well as his ego, are perfectly intact. As Harry was up there on stage receiving his meaningless award that he did nothing to deserve, it didn't go unnoticed that Harry failed to say anything about his own father and his sister-in-law Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who are dealing with some medical crises right now, as Catherine is still in the hospital after abdominal surgery, and his own father is set to undergo surgery for an enlarged prostate next week. Graham writes, with his father about to undergo a prostate procedure and his sister-in-law Kate, to whom he was once so close, in hospital for treatment for an abdominal problem, the Harry of old would surely have taken such an opportunity to publicly wish them both good health. But no, the new Harry is going to try to keep the focus entirely on himself. Graham also writes, instead, here was a man who remains fifth in line to the throne despite Megxit 4 years ago, mingling with some of Hollywood's most frivolous personalities, and being garlanded by sycophants with yet another meaningless bauble at a 1,100-pound-a-head event that was so lackluster that one elderly attendee admitted he slept through most of it. I mean, it can't get much worse than that. And then a fellow guest told Catherine Graham, we all assumed Harry would say something kind about his father and Kate before going into his acceptance speech, but he didn't say a word about them, which was weird. Yeah, I'd say weird is an understatement here. Look, I don't really care what kind of feud Harry is embroiled in with his family at this point in time. That was so inappropriate of him to just not say a word about his father and Catherine. I mean, how petty can one man be? The crazy thing to me, too, is that Prince Harry seems like he has become totally Hollywood in terms of his image and his reputation and his brand, as Meghan likes to call it. But it seems like he still doesn't understand how he comes across. Did he think neglecting to say anything at all about his father and Catherine at this event was going to endear him to the audience members? Did he not realize how he was going to come across as so incredibly self-absorbed that he can't even bother wishing his close family members well? The only thing about Harry that is interesting to other people is his connection to the royal family. Without his connections to the royals, I mean, just look at him. He's a failure in every sense of the word. He's basically unemployed at nearly 40 years old with no marketable skills, no real education, no talents. Someone who cannot possibly be applauded for any real achievement, so he's got to pick up these fake awards like the Living Legends of Aviation award that he picked up on Friday. And then, to top it all off, he got a selfie with this Prince Mario Max, who it sounds like is nothing more than a swindler who pretends to be a prince when in fact he's not. I mean, this character is about as sketchy as they come. He was adopted not once but twice as an adult man. The first time he was either 23 or 24, and then the second time he was over 30 years old. So he's basically just using this family's name without permission, and they're not happy about it one bit. And he's claiming that his connections stretch all the way back to William of Orange, which would make him a very distant cousin of the British royals, except for the fact that it's not true. It's just that somehow he managed to take complete advantage of these elderly members of this family and got them to adopt him so that then he could claim to be a member of the family. It's such a bizarre thing to do, but he did it. Understandably, the real members of the Schaumburg-Lippe family are not very happy about him. The head of the family, Prince Alexander of Schaumburg-Lippe, told the Mail on Sunday, "It's very painful for me. This guy has been harvesting our name for his personal gain. Prince Harry cannot stoop lower than appearing with him. I would advise him to stay away from this man." I mean, is Harry really that desperate at this point in time? Or did he not know that this guy is basically a con artist? Why did he agree to take this selfie with him? I mean, it's not like Harry has never had access to real European royals. I guess at this point, though, the real European royals don't want anything to do with Harry, so he has no choice but to hang out with the fakes, because basically that is what he has turned into. I'm going to conclude by sharing with you a couple of quotes from users on social media in response to the photo posted of Prince Harry and fake Prince Mario Max. One user wrote, "So cringe, two irrelevant middle-aged men without serious pursuit using their titles to grift in superficial Hollywood." And then the other one wrote, "I'm embarrassed for both of you. This must be a joke." So you know how we have been saying for years now that Meghan has brainwashed Prince Harry. She took him to California with her. He doesn't have any friends there. He misses his family. He misses his old friends in the UK. He misses everything about his former home, really. For years now, we've also been wondering what exactly it is that Harry does all the time in California. If he just sits around playing video games stoned, or if he gets out and about. Well, now, thanks to In Touch, we've got a new article. Harry is trying to set the record straight. So this is another one of those articles that comes directly from the Harkle Zone. And the reason I'm sharing it with you is because, well, it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, the title of the article itself is absolutely golden. We've got Prince Harry doesn't want to be gossiped about. During nights out, he keeps it under the radar. I'm guessing at least some of you remember the photos of Prince Harry along with the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia stars Rob McElhenney and Glenn Howerton. So they were taken back in September of this year, and they were published, I believe it was November maybe. It was clearly an attempt to distract from something else that was going on, but whatever. So now an insider, gee, I wonder who that could be, wants to let us know that photo was not a one-off. In fact, Harry goes out with friends all the time. An exclusive source spoke with In Touch, saying, "He's been having a lot more fun in LA than people realize. He's just been smart about keeping it under the radar," end quote. Harry, smart? Are we talking about the same person here? And he's having a lot of fun in LA, really? Because LA is what, a couple of hours drive from Montecito? So he goes out with friends, and then who drives him back to his home in Montecito? Or could it be that he doesn't really live there after all, and he's spending all of his time at the San Vicente bungalow suite that we heard about a while ago? You know, the same suite that he uses when he needs to escape Meghan Markle. Reportedly, Harry makes sure that he flies under the radar by traveling in SUVs with blacked-out windows, traveling with a big security team, and only hanging out in private clubs. The insider reports he doesn't want to be photographed and gossiped about. The fact that he hasn't been seen is proof he's doing it right. Perhaps we have different definitions of doing it right, because when I look at Prince Harry's life right now, doing it right is not a phrase that comes to mind. Messing everything up? Yeah, sure, but doing it right? Not so much. So reportedly, Harry goes out and parties all the time, so much so that Meghan's starting to get a little annoyed by his habit. The insider says it's good for his morale. He likes to socialize and see his friends and enjoy a beer or two while he's at it. Oh, what a big shock. Harry's still a big fan of drugs and alcohol. Yeah, we already knew that. And reportedly, Harry is sick and tired of people saying that Meghan is controlling him. The insider says he hates this whole poor Harry narrative. It really irritates him that people think he's some henpecked sap under his wife's thumb. But apparently, the insider admitted, Meghan had rather he stayed at home. The last thing their camp wants is for Harry to get his bad boy rep back. That would be bad for their brand, end quote. Well, it looks like Meghan is at it again, disguising her voice and calling up these tabloids and convincing them that she's an insider who's got the scoop on the Sussexes. Now, there is a lot in this article that made me laugh, but I think my favorite part is that would be bad for their brand. Oh, because Harry being completely controlled by Meghan and being brainwashed by her is somehow better for their brand than him being his true party boy self. Is that really what she thinks? And why does she think that Harry is doing anything to harm their brand? The last time I checked, their lack of work ethic and their inability to actually produce anything is what is ruining their brand. But you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. All right, folks, and now a little bit of discussion time. So today I'm going to be talking about the comments that you all left in response to the video. Sad news, Harry and Meghan desperately beg Netflix for money. In this video, we were talking about the fact that Harry and Meghan's Netflix contract is likely not going to be renewed. And we were wondering what exactly they're going to do for money when that cash cow runs out. Let's see what your ideas were. The first comment I want to share comes to us from Wanda I7038. Wanda says, "Why would Netflix allow anyone with no experience to be involved in a production? That would be just stupid, even without their toxic names now." Well, Wanda, why did Netflix ever sign on these two grifters, I think is a better question. We've got a response too. Malika says, "The duo may want to think about one thing they are good at instead of trying to be the jack of all trades and butt of all jokes." Ha ha! I like that little wordplay that you had there. That is part of their problem. They're not good at anything, and so they try everything and fail at everything. And that certainly does not help their brand or their reputation that they claim to be so worried about. Next comment is from Sue Clark. Sue says, "At this point, I don't see how anyone would hire them for anything. They've expected people to just come to them and make offers without making the effort and doing the work. They better put on thinking caps and come up with something. They're not a creative team with a solid marriage built on a foundation of love and chemistry. It's not a winning combination that leads to success. It's been us against the world victim mentality. They don't have a healthy mindset with focused, well thought out goals. They don't play well with others or each other. Not a good formula for success." Sue, I couldn't agree with you more, but this is not advice that Harry and Meghan are ever going to listen to. They are convinced that everybody else is the problem. See, we're the problem because we're not recognizing their greatness. Unfortunately for them, though, there's no greatness to be recognized. Just delusion. And next, a comment from Paula Weaver. Paula says, "In my opinion, Harry and Meghan could still ask Marcus Anderson for a job at a Soho House location, as long as the location isn't in England, the Commonwealth countries, or the US. Surely to goodness Soho House could use them somewhere on a property to make some money, in my opinion. Prayers to King Charles and Princess Catherine for a healthy recovery. Thank you." Thank you, Paula, for the comment, and thank you for the prayers, too. Marcus Anderson would be a great person for them to talk to. He seemed to be very good at getting jobs for people. I do believe it was Marcus who hooked Meghan up with the yachting profession. She's a little old for that now, and I'm not sure they have any need for a ginger-haired prince like Harry, but surely Marcus could figure something out for them. Maybe they could learn to bartend. And finally, a comment from Kate London. Kate writes, "If I was WME, I would advise the Harkles that before they can expect to be handed a chance to produce Meet Me at the Lake for Netflix right out of the gate with no experience and no track record, never going to happen, I would try to make a deal with Netflix to work unpaid as an assistant producer on some production they have going. Get their feet wet, gain some experience, work hard, keep your ego in check along with your diva demands. Actually learn the craft of producing a production. Then it might be worth it to Netflix to keep them around because their association does keep Netflix in the news. It would be a lifeline for the Harkles and may be mutually beneficial to Netflix to figure out some kind of way of working together. Of course, the Harkles will never do anything sensible and down to earth as this plan that's actually rooted in reality. But it's what they should do. You're right, Kate, and you're right that they'll never do anything like this because they have got their heads in the clouds and also up their own butts. Yeah, they should get some experience just like everybody else. But remember, they think they're above that. They don't need to have experience beforehand. Come on. They were born knowing how to do anything they want to do, and it's up to the rest of us to make sure their dreams come true.
Prince Harry is showing us right now that we were wrong about him. We were wrong about him being spoiled and entitled. In fact, he's a lot worse off than we thought he was. When you look at Harry's behavior since Megxit, a clear pattern emerges. Harry is simply unable to take responsibility for his actions. He seems to believe that his decision shouldn't ever have any consequences, but that is not the way the world works, even for somebody who was born a prince. And I do believe that is one thing about Harry and Meghan, to be fair, that is so frustrating to the rest of us. I mean, it seems like those two are completely delusional when it comes to their own behavior and how it affects other people, and as a result, how it affects their own reputations and relationships with other people. So now, reportedly, Prince Harry is all torn up because he had to learn about his father's prostate problem through the news instead of a personal message from the palace. Now, reportedly, the palace did send Harry a message, but it could have been beaten by news flashes. The Daily Mail has the full story. So we've got the headline, Did Prince Harry hear about King's illness from the media? Reports suggest palace message about his father may have been beaten by news flashes, as Sussexes maintain public silence over Charles and Kate's medical dramas. Well, folks, this just reminds me of what happened when the late Queen passed away. Harry was all upset then, too, because he had to learn about his grandmother's passing through the news instead of a personal message. But Harry's got to understand it is because of his own behavior that this keeps on happening. I mean, is he really so out of touch with reality that he believes this is some kind of intentional slight against him by his family? That's not what's going on here. Back in 2020, Harry and Meghan made it absolutely clear that they wanted distance between themselves and the royal family. They didn't want to be working royals anymore. They didn't want to live in the UK anymore. Well, that's fine, but Harry has got to understand that for every action, there certainly is a reaction. He cannot expect to still be just as close to his family as he was when he was living right there with them, and not to mention the fact that he and Meghan cannot be trusted. So maybe Harry really was kept in the dark a little bit about his father's diagnosis, and if so, I can understand why. Can you imagine what an absolute disaster it would have been if somehow his father's prostate enlargement diagnosis had been leaked to the media before the palace officially declared it? This is the kind of risk that the palace would be taking if they were to inform Harry in advance about anything going on. So no, I don't believe that Harry has any right to try to portray himself as a victim in this case. Harry made choices. He made choices to betray his own family. Now, thanks to those choices, he's having to face some consequences that he's not very happy with. But again, Harry has got to realize this is the way the real world works. And when he and Meghan claimed that they wanted to leave their roles as working royals and be independent, to be ordinary citizens, well, this is what life is like for ordinary citizens. If we do something horrible to our families, then we're certainly going to have to pay some kind of price. As I've mentioned before, Harry and Meghan still have not said a thing about either the King or Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who is also in the hospital right now. And I can't help but wonder if this could have something to do with it. If again, Harry's all upset, pitching a fit like a little toddler because he feels like he was left out of family communications. But again, he's got to realize this is basically what he and Meghan said they wanted. I mean, be careful what you wish for. So, according to the Telegraph, Buckingham Palace did make efforts to inform all senior members of the royal family, and that included relaying a message to Prince Harry. However, the public announcement was made at 3:25 p.m. UK time, which is 7:25 a.m. in California, and it is thought the Duke may have seen the news alerts before any private message. Well, if it's true that Harry learned about his father's diagnosis through the media, then I will say that is a shame. I do believe that on some level, Harry does still love his father, and he has to be worried about him during this time, and hopefully he would feel something for the Princess of Wales too. But again, Harry does not have any right to try to blame the palace for this or blame the royal family. This is not their fault. I mean, he and Meghan are the ones who have made themselves into pariahs. They acted like that's what they wanted. They claimed that they were so miserable as senior working royals and they needed to get away, that they were mistreated by the royal family. But somehow, the hypocrite Prince Harry believes that he should have access to all kinds of private information about his family. No, Harry, you gave that up when you chose to move away with Meghan to California. The Telegraph has asked both the palace and the Sussexes to comment, and surprise, surprise, they declined. The Telegraph reports, quote, each side is keen not to stir up further tensions, aware that any kind of declaration could plunge relations to a new low. And, they probably are right to worry about that. I mean, it doesn't take much for Harry and Meghan. Anything that could be perceived as a slight is certainly going to be perceived as such by the two of them. Remember, they're victims. They're always on the hunt for something that is victimizing them. Harry also needs to understand that he is not the center of the universe for his family or for anybody else. According to the Telegraph, the palace was forced to put out a public statement relatively quickly as the king had to cancel public engagements scheduled for the coming days. So it's not like they were able to beat around the bush and wait for Harry to pick up his phone. I mean, they've got to consider the citizens of the UK and the Commonwealth. They can't just be worried about what Harry's going to think. And if Harry is hurt by this, if he wishes that he could be closer to his family during a time like this, then maybe this would be a great time for him to consider changing his behavior, apologizing, trying to make things right, especially with his brother William and his sister-in-law Catherine. Harry said horrible things about his brother, about his sister-in-law, and about his father in the book, the docu-series, and then recently, of course, we had Omid Scobie's book Endgame. If Harry wants to be let back into the royal fold, he has got to apologize first and show that he feels genuine remorse and it's not simply lip service. And if he cannot do that, then he better get used to being left out because that's what's going to happen time and time again with him. One thing I'm still wondering about, though, is if Harry and Meghan are going to show up to collect that stupid award on Friday evening. I mean, at a time like this, I cannot think of anything tackier, anything more inappropriate than Harry and Meghan showing up there on stage, Meghan flashing that rictus grin, and Harry looking like the cat that ate the canary to collect an award that was bought and paid for that he did absolutely nothing to deserve. If the two of them dare show up, then that's going to show me they are even more shameless than I previously thought. And I've been thinking this whole time they were pretty shameless, so that's saying something. On the other hand, if Harry tries to fly back to the UK to be with his family right now, I don't think that's going to be well received either. I think Harry needs to understand that his absence right now may be the best thing for the family, that his presence is only going to be stressful to them. And that's not their fault. Again, this is because of Harry's behavior. Harry and Meghan have shown themselves to be untrustworthy. This is not something that the royal family made up. And I do believe that at a time right now when they're dealing with these medical problems that are serious, they don't need any distractions, which is exactly what Harry would be. So I think the best thing that Harry could do right now is just stay put in California and perhaps make a nice phone call to his father or even write a beautiful letter, apologize, show real remorse, make a real plan for how he's going to change, maybe go to rehab, maybe get a job, and perhaps then he can start to reestablish a relationship with his family members. But until he shows that he's ready to change, that is never going to happen.
Well, it looks like we can officially stop playing the Living Legends of Aviation version of the Will They Won't They game. We do know now Prince Harry showed up to collect his idiotic award and Meghan Markle was nowhere to be seen. Which does beg the question, what's going on with her lately? It's not like her to miss a photo op. But then again, Harry didn't walk down the red carpet, he snuck in through the back door of the Beverly Hills Hilton. So perhaps Meghan wasn't interested since a red carpet appearance was not involved. Or could it be that Meghan didn't want to be around when Harry was making an idiot of himself? What we do know for sure is that Prince Harry indeed showed up to be inducted as a living legend of aviation. Now, did he deserve this award? Well, we've been through that. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole again. I mean, honestly, you guys, I kind of thought that he wasn't going to show his face. I thought surely, on some level, Harry has to feel embarrassed and ashamed of this idiotic award that he's receiving. But apparently I was wrong. Apparently I was giving him way too much credit because there he was. There is a short video clip that I came across of Prince Harry being inducted. And I gotta tell you folks, I know the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel is a very fancy place, but somehow this event looks so cheap, so tacky. I mean, the whole thing was so clearly bogus and so clearly something that a member of the British royal family had no business being involved in. For me, the most cringy thing about watching Harry was that it seemed like he was actually excited to be receiving this award. It seemed like he felt genuine pride for being there. I mean, what is wrong with him? How does he not realize how phony this whole organization is? Apparently he doesn't. Harry's acceptance speech was predictably pitiful. I mean, if Meghan wrote it for him, boy, she didn't do him any favors. He sounded like an absolute moron. Of course, Harry had to mention his late mother. Now, some outlets are saying that he paid tribute to her. I say no, he just needed to remind everybody of who his mother was because people actually liked her. So he received the award from John Travolta, and Harry said, "I was just a 1-year-old when you danced with my mom at the White House, and now look at us." He said the only thing left to do is not dance together, but fly together. And then Harry described his time in the air while serving as, quote, being up in God's playground. And they asked him what he remembered about his first flight, and he made a little joke. He said, "It's classified." Let me tell you, friends, when I was watching Harry giving that acceptance speech, I felt so much secondhand embarrassment I had to cover my face. How does he not realize how stupid he looks? How does he not realize how much he has cheapened his own life, his own existence, and for what? Harry was born a royal prince. Not many people in this world have that privilege. Harry was essentially born with the kind of power that really can change the world and make it a better place. If Harry really is a humanitarian as he claims to be, and as the Living Legends of Aviation organization claims him to be, then why did he just throw away the chance to really make a difference in the lives of other people? Why instead did he choose to participate in this cheap, tawdry Hollywood BS? Or let's think about it another way. Which kind of award ceremony would you rather attend? Prince William's Earthshot Prize or Prince Harry's Living Legends of Aviation award ceremony? Well, I think the answer for anybody should be obvious. Prince William's award ceremony is awarding real prize money to people who really are making a difference in terms of climate change. This Living Legends of Aviation award is nothing. It's meaningless. It's just a way for very wealthy celebrities to pat themselves on the back and make themselves feel important because not only are they movie stars or whatever, they can also fly a plane, even if they can't. I think for me, though, my favorite part of the story that is coming out about last night is who Harry ended up snapping a selfie with. Sometime last night, there was a photo that popped up on Instagram of Harry and this guy who refers to himself as Prince Mario Max Schaumburg-Lippe. Now, according to the Mirror, he is a German royal who is a cousin of the outgoing Queen of Denmark, Margrethe II. But you can look him up yourself. This man is no German royal. This man is a grifter. So he's essentially what British people would call a wide boy. Now, this is a man who was born into an ordinary family. They had no connection whatsoever to royalty. So I guess he decided he wasn't happy with the life that he had been born into. He decided to change things for himself. And it sounds like the apple does not fall far from the tree with this one because it sounds like his mother is basically the same. You know, they kind of remind me of Meghan Markle and her mother, really. But really far more successful in their grifting than Meghan and Doria are. So really, Meghan and Doria could learn a thing or two from them. So according to the Dutch Wikipedia page on this Mario Max, he was born in 1977 in Salzburg, Austria, as Mario Helmut Wagner, son of Helmut Wagner and Gertrud Antonia Wagner-Schöppel. And then he was adopted in 2001 at the age of 24 by the widow of a royal prince. So her name was Helga Claire Lee Raderburg. She passed away in 2005, and she was the widow of Prince Max Schaumburg-Lippe. So that's when he changed his last name from Wagner to Schaumburg-Lippe, but he didn't use the prefixes Prinzu according to the rules for adoption. And then his biological mother ended up getting married in 2008, and he was adopted for a second time. This time he was over 30 years old. He was adopted by his mother's new husband, Prince Waldemar zu Schaumburg-Lippe, the cousin of his former adoptive mother, who by that time had passed away. So that's when he decided that he needed to add Prince to his first names, and that's what he calls himself today. This Dutch Wikipedia page also makes it very clear that the real European royals do not consider this guy to be royal in the least. Quote, within the house of Schaumburg-Lippe, but also outside it, the position of the PhD lawyer Mario Max is very sensitive. His mother and he are not recognized as members of the house of Schaumburg-Lippe. So the Dutch Wikipedia article goes on to state, the use of a prince's title has repeatedly earned him the accusation of wrongly pretending to be a prince. For example, he profiles himself on his family's website as His Highness Seine Hoheit Dr. Prinz Mario Max Prinz zu Schaumburg-Lippe. He also calls himself Erbprinz zu Schaumburg-Lippe-Nachod several times, a title that does not exist at all. Ooh, lots of German names that made me remember my German is not what it used to be. Okay, so back to the story though. Basically, Prince Harry posed for a selfie with a con artist, a grifter, a charlatan, a man who managed to weasel his way into a European royal family that refuses to recognize him. And the funny thing is, Prince Harry was born a royal prince. Prince Harry is a legitimate royal prince. So it says a lot about what he has become that now he's hanging out with the likes of this guy. I would love to know if Prince Harry even knew who he was when he posed for a photo with him. And the Instagram post is hilarious. So there's a caption reading, "Congratulations to His Royal Highness Prince Harry for his very much deserved," in all caps by the way, Living Legends of Aviation Award. I mean, I love it. So basically, this fake prince is saying, "Oh, Prince Harry, we heard that many people were saying that you didn't deserve this award, but you did. Absolutely. Look at you up there. You really are a living legend of aviation." I remember last week, or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, I came across an Onion parody of Harry and Meghan. So The Onion had published a really funny article claiming that Harry and Meghan were set to open their own storage center in, I don't even remember where it was. It was a California town somewhere out in the desert. Certainly not Hollywood, certainly not Montecito, nowhere like that. And I thought, this is funny because this is basically the level they are on right now. And now, thanks to this Living Legends of Aviation Award ceremony that we got to see a clip from, I mean, this really is the level that Harry and Meghan are on right now. It's not even a joke anymore. So I know we've said it before, but seriously, how much lower can they go? Well, folks, we've got some news that I'm going to file under the Harkle zone because I don't believe for 1 second this is ever going to happen. So the creator of Suits is working on a new spinoff. That much we know for sure. And on this show, there is a character who, according to the Daily Mail, appears to be tailor-made for Duchess of Sussex, sparking speculation he could lure her back to the small screen. But there's one caveat here. We're not sure if he's trying to lure her back or if this is just some expert trolling. Honestly, though, folks, to me it's hilarious that people are even speculating that the creator is just trolling Meghan. It tells us everything we need to know about her reputation in Hollywood and really all around the world for that matter. Not to mention what it says about the likelihood of Meghan Markle ever being asked to act in any series ever again. Or to think about it another way, let's use a different show, Friends, for example. So let's say they were doing a reboot of Friends or a spinoff or whatever. And we heard there was a character who'd be perfect for Jennifer Aniston. Nobody would even speculate that they were just trolling Jennifer Aniston. We would know that was serious because, well, Jennifer Aniston is a serious actress. But I guess that's a big difference between somebody like her and Meghan Markle. Meghan never was a serious actress. She was never considered to be some great talent. I mean, in her mind, sure. But according to the rest of the people in Hollywood, no, she was nothing special. Just a bit part actress and nothing more. Now, personally, I never got into Suits. Honestly, I never tried that hard to watch it. I remember when it was on, but I don't know, it was just never part of my TV watching rotation. And then, since it started being shown on Netflix, well, of course I wasn't going to watch it because I know way too much about Meghan Markle already. And then also, I canceled my Netflix subscription, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't. But anyway, Suits has done very well on Netflix, and many people I understand are excited about the spinoff. Obviously, they're trying to drum up a bunch of good publicity for this spinoff series, and so that's why there was a little mini reunion of the cast at the Golden Globes. But guess who wasn't there? Meghan Markle, of course. For me, the fact that Meghan Markle wasn't even with the rest of the cast at the Golden Globes tells me that there is no part that has been specially written for her. If you were to ask Meghan, of course, she would tell you that her character was the most important person on that show and she was the reason that everybody watched it. But I think if you ask other people, no, it wasn't Meghan's character. From the little clips I have seen, it doesn't seem to me like she even did a good job playing Rachel Zane. It seems like she just acted exactly like herself because I think that's all she can really do. As a narcissist, Meghan Markle simply does not have the range or depth of emotion necessary to convincingly play a character who is unlike herself. I believe she has to be typecast because at the end of the day, she simply can't understand other people. She cannot empathize. She's not compassionate. So for those reasons, any performance that we see from Meghan Markle is going to be a bit shallow. It's going to be a bit superficial. It's going to be lacking something serious. According to the Daily Mail, Suits creator Aaron Korsh has scripted a new show about the life and loves of toilers in a Hollywood law firm and created a character, Erica, who appears tailor-made to be played by Meghan. Erica is an African-American, career-focused Californian girl in her 30s who is smarter than everyone and enjoys an eventful personal life. So that's the role that supposedly is created just for Meghan. I'm pretty sure this information came from Meghan Markle herself. I mean, first of all, in her 30s. Now, there are many people out there who look young for their age. There are many women who are in their 40s who could easily pass for women in their 30s or perhaps even 20s in some cases. Meghan Markle is not one of these women. So somebody please help me out. Explain to me how Meghan Markle could possibly convincingly play a woman in her 30s, especially since she's been taking that Ozempic. She's in her mid to late 40s and she looks it. I mean, the whole idea is preposterous. Another thing that tells me this role of Erica is not made for Meghan Markle is that it says that Erica is an African American. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be racist here, and I do know that Meghan is biracial or whatever she claims to be, but she does not look African American. I mean, surely they would give that part to somebody who actually is fully African American. There are no shortage of absolutely gorgeous African American actresses out there. Why are they going to give it to Meghan Markle, who has had plastic surgery to erase her African American features and try to look more Caucasian? I don't think they're going to make that mistake. Now, I do believe that Meghan would do great playing the character who believes that she's smarter than everyone. That is herself, and she can only really play herself, let's remember, and enjoys an eventful personal life. Well, is it really all that eventful, though? I don't know. I think Meghan and Harry try to make their lives seem very exciting, but at the end of the day, no, I think their lives are incredibly boring. I think they spend most of their time cooped up in that Montecito McMansion with the chickens. The Daily Mail also reports some think that Korsh, who came to Meghan's 2018 wedding to Prince Harry, may be trolling his former friend and associate with this character. Others believe that this is an attempt to entice Meghan back to acting, which would be a global coup. All right, well, that last little phrase tells me this is absolutely written by Meghan Markle herself. How would it be a global coup to get Meghan back into acting? I mean, when are they going to stop trying to push this narrative that Meghan Markle is this amazingly talented actress and she did the whole world a favor by getting into acting? No, Meghan, you're just not that talented. And even if you were, you're such an odious human being. The talent is not going to balance out your horrible personality. But we learn that Meghan, sadly, is not interested in getting back into acting. She's busy pursuing other interests. According to the Daily Mail, she's got her eye on a portmanteau career as a philanthropist and entrepreneur and is expected to show up at the Beverly Hilton on Friday night to support Prince Harry, who is being honored as a living legend of aviation at an awards show there. Which brings me to another claim. It's coming from Lady C. So according to Lady C, who certainly does know her stuff, not only did Archewell have to pay $30,000 for that stupid award that Prince Harry is getting, but Meghan Markle has also floated the idea of getting Diana's infamous Victor Edelstein dress recreated. That, of course, is the dress that Diana wore when she danced with John Travolta 30 years ago. So supposedly, Meghan believes herself to be a great dancer, which I absolutely do believe. But do you remember her moves that we saw at the, was a Beyonce concert? Maybe Katy Perry concert too? That woman cannot dance, but she thinks she can. So she is wanting to recreate this infamous dance with John Travolta. And I completely believe it. She wants to do it after the awards are handed out. I mean, the whole notion is absolutely ludicrous, but I do believe it because Meghan truly believes herself to be the reincarnation of Diana. She's Diana 2.0, according to her and nobody else. I mean, surely the folks at WME who have arranged this entire award show anyway are not going to allow this to happen, but we have been shocked time and time again by how delusional and insane Harry and Meghan are, so it's possible. The event is scheduled for Friday night, so we're going to find out either way soon enough.
Maybe I'm confused, but in my mind, living legend describes somebody who actually did something. If we're talking about a living legend in aviation, then I would assume it's somebody who did something impressive related to flying planes. Whether it's commercial aircraft or military or whatever, I'm not really sure. Honestly, I'm not that into aviation. But in my mind, that would not be an award that would be given to a co pilot. Well, apparently I'm wrong because Prince Harry is receiving this award. And guess what? According to people who served with Harry, Harry was only number 2 in his own aircraft. Honestly, how pathetic can he be? I almost feel sorry for him. So, we already knew that this Living Legends in Aviation award was absolute BS, and now we're getting more and more reports from people who know more than we do about what exactly Harry did when he was serving time in Afghanistan. And apparently, it is even less than we originally assumed. So, according to this exclusive in The Sun, Harry was only number 2 in his own aircraft, ex-commander says, as royal mocked over Legend of Aviation award. So, whether or not he deserves it, apparently Harry really is going to be inducted as a living legend of aviation next Friday at an award ceremony hosted by John Travolta. In addition to being an actor and a Scientologist, apparently John Travolta is also an aviation ambassador, whatever that means. Now, does the fact that this award ceremony is littered with celebrities make it any less meaningful? Yeah, absolutely. Does the fact that they're honoring Prince Harry make the award ceremony any less legitimate? Again, absolutely. According to The Sun, the event was created by the nonprofit Kitty Hawk Air Academy to honor people who make significant contributions to aviation and aerospace. So again, I gotta ask, how exactly does Harry fit into this? What significant contributions did he make exactly? So sure, he completed 2 tours of Afghanistan as a forward air controller and an Apache helicopter pilot. And he did fly countless training missions in the UK, US, and Australia. But last time I checked, flying training missions does not really count as a significant contribution to aviation and aerospace. And what really makes this all the more ridiculous is that Harry is going to be up there along with other living legends of aviation like Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, who actually did do something to earn their place. Harry, on the other hand, no. Again, I'm confused about how this is even happening. With Harry and Meghan's financial troubles, I find it odd that they would spend so much money on a bought and paid for award, but who knows, maybe they had something stashed away just for a time like this. Some kind of rainy day fund for awards. Understandably, many people, both on social media and off social media, are pitching a fit at the fact that Prince Harry is being awarded with this honor. He doesn't deserve it. For example, retired military officer Colonel Richard Kemp says the award is just celebrities massaging each other's egos. He spoke with The Sun saying he was a gunner in an Apache helicopter in Afghanistan, but so were many, many other people. Colonel Kemp went on to say, I can think of many people who did pretty extraordinary things while serving in the British and American armed forces, which would be much more deserving of an award like this. It's obviously because of who he is, not what he did. An Apache is crewed by 2 people, a pilot and a gunner. Harry was a gunner. He was number 2 in the aircraft. There have been some incredible aeronautical exports from helicopter pilots in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other war zones. There are some extraordinary stories, many covered by The Sun, involving enormous flying skill and bravery. As far as I'm aware, Harry, though I commend him for going out there and doing it, did not accomplish feats like these. Well, and I think that's the thing that's such a slap in the face to anybody who served in the military, especially in the Air Force in either the UK or in America. It doesn't make sense to award Harry with this. Come on. Like Colonel Kemp points out, he was only ever number 2 in his own aircraft. Harry was never even the pilot. He was just a gunner. And let's not forget that he bragged about how many members of the Taliban he killed, which is such a tacky and just unheard of thing to do. Harry does not deserve this honor. End of story. And it is sad to think about how many people are being passed over who truly do deserve this honor. There are so many people who served in Afghanistan who performed amazing, commendable acts of bravery, but Prince Harry is not one of them. Prince Harry was never really in any danger. His life was never at risk. They made sure that he was taken care of the whole time. Harry's time in Afghanistan, let's be real, was nothing more than a PR exercise. And look, I understand why the royal family did it. I understand that Harry needed some help getting his head on straight. And it did help him. He said that. But at the same time, let's not act like that his time in the military was something that it's not. Colonel Kemp went on to say he didn't do anything extraordinary that every other helicopter gunner didn't do. It's obviously just motivated by his celebrity. That's the way these awards are. They're not to recognize true greatness, they're more about publicity. Comparing Neil Armstrong to Harry is just hilarious. They couldn't be further apart, really. Honestly, thanks to Harry and Meghan, I view these award ceremonies in a completely different light. It now has become apparent to me that most of these awards that Hollywood people give each other are nothing more than PR exercises. They're completely made up. They're basically all bought and paid for awards. Now, there are some legitimate ones, like the Golden Globes and the Oscars, for example. And if you notice, Harry and Meghan are never invited to these legitimate award ceremonies. They have to make do with the ones that you can pay to attend because, let's be honest here, they're never going to get invited to anything that involves real merit. Lord Alan West, the former head of the Royal Navy, also had something to say. He told the Mail Online, "He is not a living legend of aviation. To suggest he is pathetic. It makes the whole thing seem a bit of a nonsense if they're willing to pick someone like Prince Harry. There are lots of people who deserve to be called this, but not Prince Harry. I find it extraordinary he has been picked." I believe that was how most of us reacted when we first heard this news. It doesn't make any sense for Harry to be chosen. Out of all the people in the world, especially in the UK and the US, who served in the military or who just flew a plane in some way, shape, or form, Harry is about the least qualified to receive any kind of award, especially considering he never even got to fly on a real mission. It was only ever training missions they allowed him to be the pilot for. And according to some reports, Harry had to take his pilot's exam about 3 times and failed all 3 times, so he never even became an official pilot. One more thing that I want to touch on just a little bit about this whole sham of an award ceremony is that it's being hosted by John Travolta, and Tom Cruise has also been honored by this event or by this organization or whatever. So some people are starting to wonder if there could be some connection to Scientology, because John Travolta, as you know, is a big-time Scientologist, and we can say the same for Tom Cruise. So could it be that Harry and Meghan, now that they are so incredibly desperate, are turning to Scientology for help? Honestly, I wouldn't put it past Meghan Markle. Now, Harry, I don't believe he has any interest in Scientology, but I think that he is dumb enough to be swept up in their nonsense. And I think Meghan would see that there are a lot of very well-connected Scientologists out there. So she figures that if she gets involved in Scientology, then they're going to help her out as well. To be fair, Meghan Markle would do great as a Scientologist. She's got that kind of delusional, narcissistic, self-important attitude that most Scientologists have. I think she would absolutely be able to pretend to accept the BS claims that they make, and she'd be able to go along with all their nonsense perfectly. So it is going to be something to watch out for. If we see more connections between Meghan and Harry and people like John Travolta or Tom Cruise, it's going to lead people to speculate that maybe Harry and Meghan have also been sucked into Scientology. Honestly, Meghan's life is already completely destroyed, so Scientology might help her. And as for Harry, well, if he hasn't completely lost touch with who he used to be, he needs to find a way out of California as soon as possible. And you, what do you think of Harry being honored as a legend in aviation? Please let me know your opinion below in the comment section. If you enjoyed our video today, don't hesitate to like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it too. As always, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss a single update from Kate Middleton and the Queen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and I'll be back to see you in the next videos. And also, of course, just one small favor to ask. If you've got the time, please head over again to the King-Charles channel to report them for stealing content.